the unshakable peace, Buddha's wisdom on non-attachment. Imagine for a moment that everything you cherish, everything you own, every success you've achieved, and every certainty you believe defines your life could vanish in a single unannounced instant. How would you feel? Fear, raw pain, profound confusion, maybe even paralyzing despair. But what if I told you that hidden within this very uncertainty lies the key to an unshakable peace? A peace so deep and authentic that no external circumstance, no loss, no change can ever truly take it away. Today, we are going to unpack one of the most profound and timeless lessons ever shared with humanity: the wisdom of non-attachment, the central, liberating teaching of the Buddha. Throughout the centuries, philosophers, mystics, and spiritual teachers have grappled with one simple, undeniable truth: everything in this world changes. Yet as humans, we are instinctively wired to cling to what we love and aggressively resist what we fear. We relentlessly chase pleasure and run with equal speed from pain. We hold tightly to people, to our possessions, to our hard-won successes, and even to our fixed, rigid identities, mistakenly believing that in our grasp lies ultimate safety. But this very act of grasping, this attachment, is precisely what binds us to the wheel of endless suffering. Before we delve deeper into this timeless wisdom, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video with someone who might desperately need to hear this message today. The insights we are about to explore can fundamentally transform not only the way you see life, but how you experientially live every single moment of it. Stay with me until the very end, because the final revelation we will discuss is perhaps the most powerful one of all: the realization that can free your mind completely from all unnecessary misery. The root of dukkha. Why we cling to the unstable Buddha's teaching on attachment is critically misunderstood. It is not about rejecting life, becoming cold or indifferent. It is not about abandoning deep love or denying simple, wholesome pleasure. It is about seeing through the profound illusion that anything in this constantly moving world can provide lasting, unconditional satisfaction. Think about it with clarity. Every single moment, everything you possess, is silently, irrevocably slipping through your fingers. The body ages, relationships evolve and change, fortunes fluctuate, and even our thoughts shift like fast-moving clouds in the sky. When we violently attach ourselves to what is fundamentally and constantly changing, we are intentionally setting ourselves up for inevitable pain. Buddha observed this with extraordinary clinical clarity. He stated that craving and clinging are the absolute roots of dukkha, a word often inadequately translated as suffering, but which more accurately means a deep, pervasive existential dissatisfaction. This deep-seated dissatisfaction is what most of us feel without ever truly realizing its source. It is that restless, hollow feeling that relentlessly whispers, "Something is fundamentally missing." It is what drives us to constantly seek more. More love, more money, more recognition, more external security. But no matter how much we aggressively accumulate, the feeling never permanently disappears. Why? Because we are futilely attempting to fill an inner, spiritual void with outer, impermanent things. Let's pause and reflect for a second. When was the last time you truly felt utterly at peace, without wanting anything to be different, without anxiously thinking of what you might lose or what you might aggressively gain next? That rare moment of profound stillness, when desire and fear pause their endless cycle, is when you actually touch true freedom. Buddha's message invites us to live more and more from that sacred space, to experience fully, to love deeply, but without clinging to the experience itself, and without the paralyzing fear of its inevitable end. The three poisons of attachment. To truly understand dukkha, we must recognize its three fundamental forms that fuel our clinging. Dukkha dukkha, the suffering of suffering. This is common, ordinary pain. Physical illness, the trauma of loss, old age, death, emotional grief. Our natural attachment to comfort causes us to resist this type of suffering. Viparinama dukkha, the suffering of change. This is the pain caused not by the bad, but by the loss of the good. It is the anxiety we feel when pleasure ends, the sadness when a beautiful moment fades, the despair when success proves temporary. This suffering arises from our attachment to permanence in a world of flux. Sankhara dukkha, the suffering of conditioned states. This is the most subtle and pervasive form. It is the deep, underlying dissatisfaction that comes from believing that the conditioned nature of existence is real. It is the restless tension of a mind constantly seeking a solid, permanent ground where none exists. This is the existential void that no amount of money or relationships can ever fill. Psychologist Carl Jung once wrote that, "What you resist persists." In many ways, this mirrors Buddha's essential teaching. The more fiercely we resist change, the more intensely we suffer. The more we stubbornly insist on controlling what is fundamentally uncontrollable, the more desperately we are trapped in the prison of anxiety and fear. Life is a relentless, flowing river. Yet our ego frantically wants to build rigid, unmoving walls against its flow. We hold on tightly, believing we can stop time, keep the people we love precisely as they are, and absolutely protect our fixed identity. But the undeniable truth is that everything in existence is in constant, dynamic movement. Nothing is permanent, not even the perception of ourselves. When we begin to internalize the profound truth of impermanence, something transformative happens. Instead of perpetually fearing change, we start to bravely embrace it. Instead of mourning endings with despair, we start to see them as natural, beautiful transitions. We begin to understand that love does not need to possess, and true, authentic joy does not need to last forever to be utterly real. The transient beauty of a flower lies in its fragility. The breathtaking brilliance of a sunset is in its passing, non-repeatable nature. Likewise, the profound beauty of life itself is found in its transience. Non-attachment, therefore, is not a cold detachment. It is love without chains. It is freedom within engagement. It is the ability to fiercely enjoy the moment while knowing with deep peace that it will inevitably pass, and being utterly at peace with that natural law. This is the wisdom that allows a person to live fully in the world without being consumed by it. The illusion of control. Suffering is optional. Consider this powerful question. What if everything you are desperately holding on to, your fears, your ambitions, even your fixed, limited definition of yourself, is precisely what is keeping you from being truly, radiantly free? Think about how much of your daily life is shaped by the relentless, exhausting attempt to hold on, to keep things exactly as they are right now. We cling to people, to emotions, to our possessions, and most tragically even to our pain, as if letting go meant losing an essential part of ourselves. But the beautiful paradox is this: the tighter we desperately hold on, the more fragile we become. The more we fear loss, the less we actually live. Buddha clearly taught that pain is inevitable. Everyone experiences loss, disappointment, and change. But suffering is profoundly optional. Suffering happens when we mentally resist what is. When we violently say, "This absolutely shouldn't be happening," or "I can't possibly live without this person," or "I'll only be happy when I get what I frantically want." This internal, relentless struggle between what we furiously want and what reality calmly delivers is the true, hidden source of misery. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus echoed this truth centuries later. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoics, much like Buddha, taught that freedom is born not from controlling the external world, but from mastering your internal response to it. When we genuinely accept that change is inevitable, we begin to see that our peace depends not on what we hold, but on what we can bravely release. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you suffered more from your fierce attachment to an outcome than from the outcome itself? Perhaps a relationship ended, and instead of grieving naturally, your mind compulsively replayed every detail, desperately clinging to the past, wishing it were fundamentally different. Or maybe you failed at something important, and instead of simply moving on, you violently identified with the failure. I am not enough. In both cases, it's the attachment to an imagined version of reality, what should have been, that mercilessly prolongs your suffering. The neuroscience of craving and the middle way, modern psychology, now robustly supports what Buddha taught over 2,000 years ago. Neuroscience reveals that the human brain is instinctively wired to relentlessly seek pleasure and avoid pain, a primal survival mechanism. Dopamine, the reward chemical, makes us crave more of what gives us temporary, fleeting satisfaction. Yet this very mechanism keeps us trapped in relentless cycles of desire and inevitable disappointment. We chase momentary highs, whether from success, validation, relationships, or possessions, and feel a crushing emptiness once the temporary stimulus fades. The mind becomes dangerously addicted, not to the things themselves, but to the expectation of eternal fulfillment they promise. Non-attachment, then, is not a rejection of pleasure, but a radical liberation from this cycle of dependency. It is the art of experiencing the world fully without becoming its slave. Buddha described this balanced state as the middle way, a radical balance between excessive indulgence and paralyzing denial, between unrestrained passion and genuine, deep peace. Take the simple, elegant example. Imagine holding water in your hand. If you grasp it too tightly with fear and desperation, it violently slips through your fingers. But if you calmly open your palm, the water rests gently there, contained without force. This is precisely how life must be held, lightly, without force, without fear. When you stop trying to frantically control everything, you discover something extraordinary. Life supports you. It flows naturally into the open spaces. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, spoke of this power. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. This choice, to release attachment, to accept what is, to surrender the illusion of control, is not weakness. It is inner strength of the highest, most powerful kind. Practicing non-attachment, the 4 steps to freedom. Most people misunderstand Buddha's core lesson. They think letting go means not caring. They imagine detachment as emotional coldness. But true non-attachment is the absolute opposite. It creates the necessary space for deeper compassion and truer, more profound love. When you stop desperately clinging to someone out of the paralyzing fear of losing them, you can finally love them for who they are, not for what they give you or what they represent for your security. When you no longer depend on external outcomes for your happiness, you begin to act from freedom, not from desperate need. This kind of love, unconditional without chains, is the most powerful form of connection that exists. It asks for nothing, yet gives everything. It doesn't say, "I love you because you make me happy." It says, "I love you because I see you, and in seeing you, I recognize myself." That is real, unbreakable connection. Non-attachment does not shrink your capacity to feel, it expands it exponentially. Because when you are no longer terrified of losing, you are radically free to experience everything, joy, sadness, wonder, love, with your whole unreserved being. So I ask you now, What are you clinging to that no longer serves your highest self? What fears, identities, or rigid expectations are keeping you desperately chained to suffering? Let us now explore what it truly means to practice non-attachment in everyday life, not as an abstract ideal, but as a living, applied reality. Awareness, mindfulness. The first step is awareness. Buddha called it mindfulness, the sacred art of being fully present in each passing moment without judgment or resistance. When you observe your thoughts and emotions as they silently arise, you begin to see the subtle, invisible threads of attachment weaving through them. You notice how a single, simple desire creates tension in the body, how fear of loss makes your mind violently contract, how anger immediately appears when an expectation is not met. This awareness is not about suppressing emotions, it is about seeing them clearly for what they are, impermanent movements of the mind. Imagine watching clouds pass across the vast sky. You don't try to stop them, chase them, or hold on to them. You simply observe them. The sky remains unchanged, vast, and still. Likewise, when you rest in awareness, you realize that you are not the clouds, your thoughts and emotions. You are the sky itself, the unbounded space in which all experiences come and go. Modern neuroscience has demonstrated that this practice literally rewires the brain, strengthening regions associated with calmness, compassion, and emotional regulation. By observing without clinging, you weaken the neural patterns of craving and aversion. You train your mind to rest in equanimity, a balanced state of peace amidst all conditions. Acceptance, surrender, not resignation. The second step is acceptance. This does not mean resignation or passivity. It means fiercely embracing reality as it is without the inner battle to make it something else. It's saying, this is what is happening now, without the internal struggle. The truth is that life will not always unfold according to your precise plans. People will change, opportunities will fade, and pain will sometimes enter uninvited. But when we stop violently fighting reality, we conserve the colossal amount of energy we once wasted on resistance. And that conserved energy transforms directly into profound clarity. The philosopher Alan Watts said, "The more we try to control the world, the less control we actually have." When we stop clinging, life begins to flow naturally. Acceptance is the moment you stop desperately swimming against the powerful current. You still pursue your dreams and goals, but you pursue them without the anxiety of attachment. You take deliberate, conscious action, but you calmly release the final outcome. Think of a gardener planting seeds. They water them, nurture them, and create the right conditions, but they cannot control precisely when or how the flowers bloom. Attachment demands results. Acceptance trusts the sacred process. Gratitude, the savoring of transience. The third step is gratitude. Gratitude acts as an extraordinary force that transforms attachment into appreciation. When you genuinely recognize that everything is temporary, you immediately stop taking it for granted. You begin to savor life in its fleeting beauty. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of rain. Instead of desperately grasping, you simply and deeply appreciate. Gratitude invites presence. It teaches you to say, "I am grateful that this exists, even if only for a single moment." This powerful shift in perspective changes everything. You stop clinging to experiences because you realize their impermanence is precisely what makes them precious. Detaching from identity, anatta. The fourth step is the most challenging, detaching from identity. We rigidly define ourselves by our roles, parent, professional, our achievements, our opinions, and our possessions. We say, "I am this" or "I am that." But beneath all these temporary labels, there is something unchanging: awareness itself. Buddha called this realization anatta, the understanding of no fixed, permanent self. This does not mean you cease to exist. It means you recognize that your true essence is not the temporary story you compulsively tell yourself, but the consciousness witnessing it. When you stop identifying with the story, you stop fearing its inevitable end. You become radically free. Eckhart Tolle echoes this. The more you make your thoughts and emotions your identity, the more you suffer. Detaching from identity doesn't make you less human, it makes you more whole. You can still play your necessary roles in life, but you play them consciously, without desperately losing yourself in them. This is the quiet, profound power of non-attachment. It removes your dependency, but not your passion. Nirvana, the timeless peace. What does true freedom look like? Not the kind of freedom that depends on external circumstances, but a freedom that remains absolutely unshaken even when the world violently falls apart. This is what Buddha called nirvana, the extinguishing of the fires of craving, aversion, and ignorance. It is not a mystical destination to reach, but a state of being that arises when we are no longer enslaved by attachment. It is the realization that peace has always been here, hidden beneath the deafening noise of our wanting. Abraham Maslow called this self-transcendence, the moment a person rises above the limits of the ego and touches something larger than themselves. Nirvana is the realization that you are the ocean, not the wave. The waves of life, your fears, desires, disappointments, are temporary. They come and go, but the depth of who you are remains vast, still, and untouched. To awaken to that stillness is to find what every human being has been searching for, a peace that does not depend on anything. When you truly let go of attachment, you rediscover this truth. You are not losing life, you are finally finding it. You stop demanding that life fit your expectations and begin to see the sacredness of what already is. Non-attachment is not loss, it is liberation. You lose the chains, not the beauty of life. You lose the illusion of control, but gain the wonder of presence. You stop demanding that life fit your expectations and begin to see the sacredness of what already is. Remember, nothing you have is truly yours to keep. Not your possessions, not your status, not even your body, but the awareness with which you live, the love you give, the wisdom you embody. Those are eternal. They belong not to time, but to truth. Peace is not at the end of the path. Peace is the path. So if this message has touched something in you, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let go just a little. Let go of one thought, one fear, one expectation. Feel the quiet space that remains. That space is you, vast, unbound, and free.